themselves into other people, okay? Most people, if they learn our process, can get an IBA from somebody, right? They can recruit somebody, but they're not actually recruiting anybody into active status in our business, right? And a big part of that is expectations, standards not being set, processes not being followed. So I'm gonna go through our orientation process, but I'm not gonna go through it like a traditional orientation. What I'm gonna go through is I'm gonna go through exactly what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking and what I'm saying and why I'm saying in the key areas of engaging people in the business, okay? And so if you came here on a Friday night training, in fact, we can even do this here. How many of you are direct line to me? Raise your hand if you're direct line to me. Raise it up. No, you're direct to me, okay? Keep them raised. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay? 10 of however many are in here. How many of you have at least 10 downlines sitting in this room on your team? Raise your hand. 0. Yeah, maybe Josh has 10 downline. So I have more direct line people at this meeting than you have on your teams. Through all your people, okay? So how could this be? What is the secret ingredient that you miss between recruiting somebody, getting a yes, I want to get involved in Primerica, and actually translating that into a human being at a meeting trying to change their life, right? Because there is a missing link there for most of you. Okay, so we're going to go through this in great detail. If you have questions, make sure that you ask, because there really aren't any stupid questions, because a lot of this, you got to remember, is intangible, right? There's a process, there's a script to the orientation, but there's a way of being and a way of communicating the same words, and those words somehow come across different, with a different authority, a different level of meaning to somebody, a different level of expectation. And so I'm going to do my best tonight to explain to you and teach to you that which cannot be taught, which is the intangible art of the business and how to get people started and moving quickly, okay? So you need to remember a couple of things here, okay? Why are you doing an orientation with somebody? What is the purpose of the orientation? The purpose of the orientation, in my opinion, is 4 things, okay? The first thing that I want them to do is I want them to understand why to field train and that recruiting is good. Many of you are afraid to talk about recruiting. You don't want it to seem like one of those things. You're trying to make it into this professional business, right? You're like Raymond James. That's how you're presenting it to people, right? Oh, it's financial, it's all these things. And that's true, but it's also people who get people who get people, okay? And one of the key differences between me and you, you're afraid to talk about it, and I love to talk about it. Do you see the difference? What will they think? I'm thinking, what will they think when they see this? People who get people who get people and free money. What will they think, right? Okay, do you understand? I actually did an appointment over the weekend, but I haven't gotten paid on it yet. But I made $4,000 or $5,000 in overrides at my house all weekend, right? Because of what? People who get people who get people, right? That's why people are in Primerica. That's what Primerica has to offer to people. The number one thing I want a new recruit leaving with is an understanding of why they need to go field training fast, right? Why they need their 3x3, and why they need to fall in love with recruiting and what recruiting actually means to them, okay? So we're gonna go through these and then I'm gonna come back and put them all together. So number one thing is I want them to understand why they need to field train and why recruiting is good for them and a good thing and why it helps everybody, okay? That's number one that I want them to learn. Number two is I want them committed to meetings and calls. They won't win if they don't plug into those things. They just won't, okay? And I won't spend time with them if they're not gonna plug into those things. You've got to get them committed, and it's make it or break it right up front, okay? If you give somebody the wrong impression, yeah, we got these trainings, but they're not really mandatory. I mean, you don't really have to come to them. If you're busy, that guy's dead. You just killed him. Congratulations, 187 on your new recruit. Okay, you just murdered him before he even started. You murdered all of his chances, right? Because guess what? If you were in kindergarten and your kindergarten teacher said, you don't really have to take this test to pass the first grade, it's kind of optional, so tell me when you're ready, everyone in this room would still be in kindergarten, right? You all be 35-year-old kindergarten, right? Because you wouldn't choose to take a test, study, and be forced to show your competency at something. You just wouldn't choose it. You would continue to put it off. So you got to understand that this is the way your recruits, virtually all of them, have been raised up in thinking for their entire life. And so you recruit them into Primerica, they've been in the business for a whole 10 minutes, and you somehow expect their decision-making process to be completely different than it's been their whole life. If you make it seem at all like it's optional to them, you're gonna kill them. Okay, they're dead. It's gotta be mandatory, you can't miss, it's the end of the world, I'm not gonna work with you if you don't come to these things, right, okay? And that's how I treat my people, and I don't. If you stop coming to meetings, I stop talking to you. End of story, right? Because why would I talk to you? You're not gonna go anywhere, right? I got all these people that are gonna go somewhere. Let me talk to them. If you wanna get your butt back in gear, fine, start coming to meetings, right? I'll believe you when I see you here. And so this is the mindset that you've got to communicate to your people, that your time is valuable and that they're not going to win without this. And if they're serious about the reason they joined, they will do this. Okay? That's the second thing I want them to learn. Third thing I want them to do is get licensed. I can't override you if you don't have a license. I can make sales for you, but I can't override you. So I'm not really interested in making sales for you, Shane. I'm extremely interested in overriding you. So I gotta get you licensed and make sure that you know what you're doing through some field training, that you can go and do what I've taught you without me having to be there. That's the name of my game. I've gotta get my people licensed. Do you know your licensing percent? What percent of the people you recruit get licensed? Okay?
Not enough. Not
What?
enough.
Okay. You said 2, and you're the licensing
I know,
teacher.
isn't it funny?
Oh my goodness. What do you get? So Jeannie's at 10%. Okay? So our hierarchy is at, it hovers between 16 and 18% of the recruits get a license. Okay? Right? Company average is 13. So we do better than the company average, right? Okay, isn't that crazy? Out of 100 people that pay their $124 and join Primerica, 13 get a license. They go to class, finish the class, sit for the exam, pass it. 13, right? You'll say, how many people make money in Primerica? It's like, well, which ones? The ones that were looky-loos or the ones that actually completed step 1? They actually, we gave them a checklist and they check 1 on the checklist. Because if we go and just use the numbers of people who check box 1, right, then a lot of people do well, right? But if we take the 83 of them or 87 of them that didn't even go to class and get a license that they paid to get, right, then the numbers look real crazy, right, okay? Primerica is like a gym, okay, right? It's how many people that pay for the gym membership go every day? Not many. Does that mean gyms are bad? No. Does that mean a gym can't change your life if you go and put in the time and effort? No. Of course it could. In fact, if you want to get healthy, that's probably the best place to go to change your life, right? And guess who else is there? Other committed life changers, right? They're at the gym, right? Guess who's not there? The people that aren't committed to that, right? So I really want people to understand why they need to go get a license and have a precedent and an urgency upon getting that license, okay? The fourth thing that I want to do, set appointments. Set appointments. You're going to recruit 2 sorts of people, okay? The 2%ers and everybody else. The 2%ers come here and they say, this is unbelievable. I have influence with my market. I'm going to start calling these guys and get us a bunch of appointments. And when you find one of those, thank the Lord, right? Okay, because they're fun to work with. It's like, wow, like I don't need to teach you how to get us in front of somebody. Like you could call a friend and get us an appointment with your friend, right? And they actually show up to the appointment you set with them. That's unbelievable, right? Okay, but the other 98% are not going to set appointments. Here's what they're going to do. They're going to do nothing because they're afraid, or they're going to call and they're afraid, and the person they're calling smells it out. They smell their fear like a dog does, right? And they're like, something's wrong. I sense multi-level marketing, right? Okay, and then they disappear, and then they get killed by their 3 or 4 warm market, and they say, I don't like the way this feels, and then they send you a text if they're an awesome human being, and tell you, I've been thinking, or if they're a normal human being, they just go witness protection on you. That's what happens, right? Okay, so you need to identify, are you the 2% that's mentally tough, has great rapport, knows how to have a conversation, or are you the 98? If you're the 98, you need to run that Kajini play where you're gonna call the top 3 or 4 KTs and the top 3 or 4 recruits right there on that appointment, okay? That's what an orientation is for. This is how my mind always worked. My job, Rick, is not to teach you about Primerica. You don't need to know anything about Primerica. Here's what I need you to know. I need you to know that recruiting is good. I need you to know you're going to get promoted by us being in the field. I need us to make calls to make that happen. I need you to come to training, because if you don't come to training, you're gone before I can really finish helping you grow. And I need you to get a license so I can override you. That's all I care about that you know in this business. I don't care. You don't need to know anything else. If you know those 4 things as a new recruit, you're gonna have, and you got a legit trainer that's good, you're gonna make all sorts of money, and you're gonna get a bunch of promotions that you didn't even have to work for. Some of you got promoted 2, 3, 4 times in your first 90 days in this business, and you didn't even know what on earth you were doing. Somebody was running that for you, right? That's how our business system works. Most of us do not take this approach, evidenced in the fact that you recruit people, but where are they? Yeah. Right? Where are they? You didn't build them or plug them into a process, right? And they became one of these 87% nameless, faceless masses of people who just disappear, right? Who disappear from the planet Earth. Those are the 4 things that I'm thinking about, Joel, I need you to get when you leave here, right? Okay, I need you to understand it. If you don't understand those, I failed on an orientation. There was no point. Some of you want to teach them all sorts of crap, show them about POL, all these things. No, right? You don't need any of that, okay? You need those 4 things. That's your job. That's your, well, what about making the list? I don't even need you to make a list. I need you to make me the list of 3 to 4, the top people. We'll worry about the list if you make it through the next 48 hours. Right? Then we'll worry about the list. So many of you are trying to teach people the business that are never going to stay in the business. So you're teaching and you're overwhelming them and you're telling them all this stuff they don't care about. And then they quit. And then you do it again and again and again. I don't give anything to anybody that's not proving themselves in my process. You following that? You only get run around in Primerica if you let people run you around. Okay? But you can guarantee the doom of your new people by not doing these 4 things with them. Right? Okay? I've had several conversations this week with people whose uplines are maybe not the best examples of what Primerica should be, but guess what? They're here and they're winning. Why? They plugged into the system, they found other people. Say, yeah, this guy's not so great, but this one and this and that, they don't even override. This one helped me, and this one helped me, and this person's really winning, and I'm in a community that's helping me. So even though I'm at a disadvantage from my direct upline, I'm still winning, right? Well, what happens if you never plug your people into there? Then you're the only lifeline. Well, what happens if you're not as great of a lifeline as you think you are? Right? What happens if your personality, their personality don't gel? Sometimes that happens, right? Guess what? Slow people, people that move slowly, they dislike and distrust me the minute they meet me. Not because I'm not likable or untrustworthy, but because I'm moving faster than they are. And they dislike people that are not like them, just like you. You dislike people that aren't like you either, okay? And so you got to understand that if you're the only lifeline, you're losing half the people right there, right? You got to plug them into that process. Those are the 4 major areas you've got to be great at, okay? I've noticed that some teams use different orientation packs than I'm going to show you. I think that's a mistake. And the reason I think it's a mistake is the more information you give them, the less action they take. Because they've got a finite amount of concentration. The more pieces you give them to concentrate on, the less percentage of concentration each piece gets. Does that make sense? If you only got 100% of concentration and effort and you give it 4 things or you give it 10 things, then the 4 you really wanted to have less because some of it had to go to the 6 that didn't matter. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. You got to keep it simple, silly, right? Okay. Somebody told me don't say stupid is bad. So, no, you guys, it's so soft. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
You gotta say like silly.
I quit Primera because I was emotionally damaged in the 501 class. Call me stupid. Right? So you got to keep it simple. Okay. Larry Weidel, incredible Primerica legend, said on Twitter the other day, the more parts your system has, the less duplicatable it is. Yeah. You've got to keep it very, very basic. Right? We have a 1-page presentation. Why? Because it's basic. Right? It's basic. More people can duplicate it. Danny, you had a question, I think?
I did. So let's say you're on your orientation, you set some appointments with your new person. How many more appointments are you going on with them to set appointments? Does that make sense?
Yep. So my process is meeting with them on the orientation to set appointments, right? And then get them to the meeting. So it's meeting with them, so one-on-one, book them to the meeting. At the meeting, you book them to the next one-on-one. At the one-on-one, you book them to the next meeting. And you get them there early to the meeting so you can do what? Set appointments.
Okay.
And then at the meeting, you book them to the one-on-one so you can do what? Set appointments, right? And you're gonna role play with them and you're gonna give them the script to listen to and you're gonna see them start getting better. And you ain't gotta do that but 2 weeks and they're gonna be good. If they stay through that process with you, you won't ever need to do that again with that person. Right? But most of us are just so lazy. We're like, hey, I recruited you, Kia. Here's the scripts. Listen to them and make some calls and let me know. She's gone. Because her mom's like, this sounds like a pyramid, right? And hang up, he's like, Mom, how's it gonna, right? And she's just done. She's done because you threw her out there to the wolves before she had any weapons, right? Okay, so you gotta control that experience. Seems kind of tedious, but let me remind you how much work you go through to get a human being to say yes to you. Why not get that person to actually follow through instead of having to go find 10 more? Right, does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions on that before we pop over here to the actual orientation? I'm going to tell you exactly what I say, exactly why I say it. Any questions on what we just went through? Going once, going twice. Okay, very good. Where's my items? Here we are. All right. So this is the orientation you should be using. A lot of it is useless BS. Okay, that I would say, hey, read this on your own. Let me know if you have questions. So this is the 3-legged stool, right? One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to get buy-in for that person's coachability. Okay? I'm going to get buy-in for the person's coachability. If you just try to tell somebody and then ask them to do something, but you haven't asked them for a commitment, they might not do it. They might say, I don't want to do it, right? So I'm going to ask for commitment, and I'm also going to remind them why they're here. So before I even start Mike's orientation, Mike, man, I'm excited about you. So tell me, why are you doing this, Mike? Why is it important to you that you succeed at this? Before I even start, I want to get him selling himself again on why he's here. Because he's here for a reason. What is that reason? Right? Most people just forget about their dream. That's what happens. Right? They came here with a dream, and then they forget about it like they did the rest of their life before they were in Primerica, right? So I'm not going to allow him to forget about that dream because that dream is a motivator to him, right? Okay? So I'm going to find that. I'm going to try to push some emotional hot buttons with him even before we get started. If he knows why he's doing this, he's going to do it a lot more aggressively than if it's just something. Well, I need extra money. Well, and so what are you going to do with that extra money, Mike? What's your plan? How would $2,000 or $3,000 a month change things for you? What would that mean to you? What is it actually going to do for your family? I want him to verbalize these things, so I'm going to connect the dot for him that mastering this will help get you that. Right? Most of you just start giving information. Right? Okay. Well, that same information to the same person is received very, very differently when somebody's open and emotionally engaged in receiving the information versus just having information spewed to them.
That's good.
Okay? So that's step one, is get some emotional buy-in from them on why they're here. Step two then is asking for permission. Rick, listen, you said you want to do A, B, C, and D, right? Okay? There's a right way and a wrong way to learn this business. Which way would you like me to teach you? Then he says the right way. I say, Rick, I'm going to teach you both ways. I'm going to teach you the right way and the wrong way, because I want you to know what's wrong in case you start doing it. Okay? Because there's common pitfalls that I want you to be able to avoid. Does that make sense? Very good. I want to that's getting some permission from him to give him, like, here's the right way, here's the wrong way. Are you going to do this? Okay? Right? So I'm going to show him the three-legged stool, and I'm going to immediately go to the promotion guidelines. Okay? And I'm going to role play this with you, Sherry. So Sherry, let me teach you how our pay structure works, okay? And also what you need to be doing in your first 30 days to get the most out of it, okay? Because you do want to be paid, right? As much as possible, right? That's my goal too, is to help you get that. So in Primerica, Sherry, there are 7 contracts ranging from 25% as a rep. So you, me, everybody starts at that level, okay? And we work our way up. The highest contract is something called a regional vice president. That's 110%. What is that a percentage of, Sherry? It's a percentage of the first year's premium of a life insurance policy. Why life insurance? I'm just going to explain to her a little bit. Life insurance is the foundation of all financial planning, okay? If you're alive to make money tomorrow, you can pay off debt, you can save it, you can get a second job and earn more. You're in control, right? If you're not alive to make money tomorrow, that's a problem for the people you left behind, right? Okay, so this is the only thing they're gonna have to navigate the entire rest of their financial future, forever.
That's good.
So it's gotta be done right, do you understand? Okay. The average client, Sherry, pays about 85 bucks a month for their life insurance, and I'll write this on the top, 85 a month, right? So they can see it, because people retain far more of what they see and hear together than what they just hear alone, right? Okay? So I'm gonna write it out, right? 85 a month, which is about $1,000 annually. So Sherry, if you're the low lady on the totem pole and you're at 25% and you did $1,000 sale, how much money would you make? 250 bucks. Not bad for an hour's worth of work, right? Okay. So what if you were at 80%, which is the highest part-time contract you have? If you had 80% of that $1,000, how much money would you make? $800, right? That's a lot of money. That's good money for an hour, right? Okay. So let me show you how this works. In your first 30 days, Sherry, you're eligible for 2 pay grade increases. Okay, and a lot of you lose people here, right? You don't know how many times I get this exactly. My new person is upset about the sales they made and why they didn't get paid on their first 3, and they thought they should be paid. If you ever say that to me, all I hear is, I didn't do a very good job of teaching them this. Because my people don't ever say that. I've never had anybody in 10 years upset about that. I have them excited about it, but not upset about it, right? Okay? So in your first 30 days, Sherry, there's 2 pay grade increases. The first is this. We get you 1 recruit and 1 insurance sale, okay? And you're automatically gonna start when you're licensed at 35. So a $1,000 sale, what are you making now? $350. $100 a sale more than you were making before, right? And this is what we really want to do, Sherry. We really want to get you to 50%. Now, 50% of 1,000 is what? 500. 500 bucks. That's twice as much per sale. That's real money. Sherry, what if you made 2 of those a week? It's $1,000 a week, part-time money, right? How do you get there? 3 recruits and 3 sales in your first 30 days. Now, Sherry, I really need you to pay attention and listen here. If you have questions, I need you to stop me because it's super, super important that you understand this, okay? Sherry, if you're unlicensed, because most likely you're not going to be actively licensed in your first 30 days, right? We got you in class next week, you're going to study for a few days, you're going to take and pass it, and then the state of Michigan's going to take their sweet old time giving you the license, right? So it's probably pretty unlikely that you're going to be actively licensed in the first 30. So I need you to follow me on this, okay? If you're not licensed in the first 30 days, will you get paid directly from those first 3 sales? No. Why not? Because you're not licensed. Who will be paid for those first 3 sales? Right, your trainer will be. But Sherry, I want you to follow this. We are going to pay you in 3 ways. It's important to us that you are paid. Okay, it's just an indirect payment. I want you to understand this. The first way we're going to pay you, right, is we're going to give you $300 worth of bonuses. So a little bit of money for your time during training. Not much, but it's some, okay? The second way we're going to pay you is instead of starting at 25, you're starting where? At 50. On an infinite amount of sales forward, you're getting twice as much. It doesn't take very many sales to make back the little bit of money you didn't earn here on 3, right? Like almost immediately, and then you're ahead. You get that? Sherry, the real payment is right here. I want you to watch and get this. In addition to the 3 sales, what did I help you get? 3 recruits. Sherry, what do your 3 recruits have to do to get to 50% in their first 30 days? They each need to do 3 recruits and 3 sales. So if your 3 recruits each get 3 sales, that's 9 sales, right? Now your 3 recruits, they're not licensed in their first 30 days, right? But you are now, right? Who's making the money on the 9 sales they brought you? You are. At what level? 50 instead of 25. Sherry, do you understand why this is good? You're sure, right? They're going to be bringing you sales. You're going to make twice as much on. You're not going to have to do anything to find them. That's better than finding them all on your own and getting paid 25, right? Okay. So we need to get you what? 3 recruits and 3 sales fast. You understand? Do you see how I explain that to them?
Yeah.
They will never get in tisses with you about training sales if you explain to them why it's in their best interest. Right? Okay? And so I've got this on the next page, but I'm going to draw it for you because you need to be able to draw out the math of why it's in their best interest. Right? Because everybody wins here in this process. It's what I love about the Primerica promotion process. At a job, if they pay you more for doing the same work, the company loses. So if that's a win-lose. You won, company loses, that's an unsustainable relationship. They're going to figure out how to get some of that back. Right? Just doesn't work that way. It's got to be a win-win. Well, let me show you the win-win. Okay, and you need to be able to understand this and speak this to somebody, and it's in the orientation packet, but I prefer to draw it out to people so they see. Say, Sherry, let me show you the math behind it. Okay? So let's say in the next 90 days, you're going to make 10 sales, okay, whether you field train or not. Whether you field train or not, you're going to make the same amount of sales. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Way A, you get nothing on the first 3. Okay? On the next 7, at an average of 1,000, right? That's 7,000 in premium, and you're getting what? 50%. So how much cash is that? So it's $3,500 plus $300 in bonuses. So what did you make? $3,800 on your first 10 sales. 3 of them you made nothing. The next 7 you were paid out 50% plus you got your bonus. Right? You get that? Okay. Let's look and say, no, I'm not doing anything until I get licensed. That's fine. And you can pick that, but let me show you why that's bad. So you get paid on all 10 at what? 25%. So how much money did you make? $2,500, no bonus. So you made $1,300 less doing the exact same amount of work to not follow our process. Right? Do you understand that? And the more sales you make, Sherry, the bigger that discrepancy becomes. So we want to help you make money, good money, quickly. And the best way to do that is by getting that promotion by field training and repeating that with the team of people I build for you. You understand that? It's very important. If you do it my way, Sherry, it's gonna be fast. If you do it a different way, it's gonna be slow. It's gonna go very slowly, if at all. Do you understand? So we're gonna do what? Get 3, what? Recruits and 3 sales. And if we can get more, even better. Right? Do you see this? You've gotta be able to explain this to people. You, again, are doing your people a gigantic disservice to not get them to district in their first 30 days. Why? Because they're getting paid a whole lot less, but guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna repeat what they did. They're gonna repeat what they saw you do with them. So if you didn't help them go do it fast, they're not gonna help them go do it fast. And that whole leg moves like molasses. It's just going, and they're quitting before you can ever get anything done with them. They're just leaving right and left because nobody's seeing success. Why do people leave Primerica? They don't have somebody under them. There's no fear of loss, right? Fear of loss is a great motivator with people. You gotta give them something to lose, which is a great person or a team of people underneath them. Everybody following that?
Yeah.
This is exactly how you explain this. Anybody have any questions on this and on why that is in the recruit's best interest, why it's in your best interest? Any questions at all? Anything here you don't understand? Anything here you feel like you cannot explain in the way that I've explained to somebody? Did you see how I made like quadruple sure she understood what I was saying? You see how I even had to repeat it back to me so I knew she understood what I was saying? Okay. All right. So you guys are all questions.
How about I recruit this guy that has license already?
Yeah. So guess what? He's already licensed. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it.
I know, but what's the promotion guidelines on that?
He should be doing it the same way. Yeah, the only time I ever make exception on that is if I got a guy coming in from another company who's good already. If he's using his license somewhere else and he's leaving, I'll match his contract to start. If he's not using his license, you're starting at the bottom with everybody else.
But does he get paid or? Do you
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I'm not really interested in getting the commission off your 3 sales.
Right.
That's the least of my concern. I just want you to make the 3 sales and get the 3 recruits, right? And it just so happens I get the commission because you're not licensed. Because if I wait for you to get licensed, 87% of the time, I'm gonna be waiting for life, right? That makes sense? Somebody else had a question back there.
No, never mind.
Or they were just kind of,
It was answered.
oh, okay, you
Yeah,
got it?
yeah.
Right? Okay, so don't give away contracts. That doesn't teach your people anything but entitlement.
That's good.
Okay, unless you're getting somebody over from a different company. And then you need to give them a reason to be here, right? If they're at 70 somewhere else, and you're like, I'm gonna start you at 25. Yeah, I mean, or they just gotta be such a bleeding heart, they care so much about our cause, they don't mind taking some massive pay cut, right? Okay, but I want them to care about our cause and have a financial reason to come, right? Everybody following that? Okay, any questions on this? On why it's good, on why you need to explain it to people, on getting people excited about recruiting and having a team, right? Isn't that different than avoiding the recruiting conversation altogether? They don't even know why they're here without that. Now they know, right? All right, let's go back to our, there we go. I'm gonna call you 2% licensing, your phone going off. All right. So let's go back to this, right? Meetings, conference calls. So I'm with Mike, and I'm gonna say, Mike, let me talk to you a little bit more in depth on this because this is where you're probably gonna screw this deal out. Okay, and you just told me it's really important to you that you win for your family and that you get out of your job, right? It's really important. It's not sort of important, it's really important, right? Like scale of 1 to 10, it's a 12. So you're gonna do what you need to do to get that done, right? So I need you to listen really closely here because this is where you're gonna fail. If I had to pick a point right now to tell you this is where you're gonna mess this opportunity up, it's right here, okay? You don't wanna mess it up, right? Because this is how you're gonna get out of those things, right? There's nothing else you're working on right now with the potential to get you out, right? Okay, so I need you to pay attention to this. All right, so I have trainings and conference calls that happen on a weekly basis that I need you to be at, like no matter what. And let me explain to you why, Mike. and then I'll explain to you kind of a little bit more about the process, okay? If you don't know what you're doing here, how many sales are you gonna make? None. And so how much money will you make? Zero. So why are you here? You're here to change your family's life. How will your family's life change by you making no money? It won't, right? So you need to be trained well enough to get results, right? Okay, so this is how I trained you. So you need to be there. Do you understand? Okay, well, let me help you think about this again. Remember, we're gonna get you some people on your team, right? If you have, say, 10 people on your team, which we're gonna have quickly, right? Do you see how I'm setting his expectation? We're gonna have that quickly for you, okay? If your 10 people don't know how to make sales, Mike, how many sales are they gonna make? How much money are you gonna make from their effort? Why did you even waste your time recruiting them or start this business? Okay, so we gotta teach them how to sell so they make money for them and you, right? Okay, so I want you to watch this. So I have 3 hours of training a week. So Mike, there's 168 hours in a week. I need 3 of them. It's not a lot, right? Okay, to win in your future, you're already putting 40, 50 hours a week at your job and you're not getting where you wanna go, right? So 3 in comparison to what you're doing is not much, right? For a potential big reward, right? Okay, watch this, right? Tuesday 7 to 8, Friday 6:30 to 8, right? Sunday night conference call, you just dial in from wherever, 8:30 to 9. That's 3 hours, right? 3 hours a week. Let's call it drive time, 5 hours a week, okay? Now, if we had 10 people on your team and we needed to train them for 5 hours each every week, one by one by one by one, we would spend how many hours training them, Mike? 50. 50 hours a week training the people. Or, Mike, what if I got them all to come to this? Now how long would it take me to train them? 3 hours. Same 10 people, same material, but I took my time from 50 hours to what? 3. What if I had 100 people coming to this meeting, Mike? How long would it take me? 3 hours. What if I had 1,000 people? It'd take me how long? 3 hours. Mike, I'm gonna build you a team with 100 people, okay? Well, you wanna spend 3 hours or every waking moment training them? 3 hours, right, okay? What if I told you you did this for 3 to 5 years, okay? And you're gonna be out of your job completely, and those 3 hours will buy you back the 40 or 50 hours a week that you're spending at your job. You'd make that trade all day long, wouldn't you? That's exactly what I'm telling you, okay? But you gotta make the trade. You're not gonna get out of the 50 hours without putting in the 3. Does this make sense? So Mike, listen, these are probably gonna be inconvenient. You're probably gonna have to rearrange some things, okay? But doing what you're doing now, you're not getting where you wanna go, right? So the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over, but expecting a different what? So we're gonna change some things, right? One of the things we're gonna change is we're gonna change our schedule so that we can be at these, not sometimes, all the time. Because if you miss something that you need and you're out on appointments and you don't have it and you're not closing, what are you getting? You're teaching that to your people, what are they getting? Okay? You want this to work, right? This is how you're gonna make it work. Okay, you following that? So Mike, listen, I want you to think about it like this. Let's say you had a college final exam tomorrow and you're like, man, I'm struggling here a little bit. I don't really know what's going on. I need some extra help. So you go and you knock on that professor's door. The morning of the test, you're like, Professor, listen, I just need a little bit of extra help here. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Would you help me? And he looked at his attendance list and he saw you skipped half his classes. What's that professor gonna tell you, Mike? Get lost. You should have thought about that before you skipped half my classes. Right? Good luck. Okay? What if you knocked on the door, he said, oh, hey, Mike, because he knows you sit on the front row, you're there 10 minutes early, you bring him coffee, you ask every question, you've never missed a class. Is he more or less likely to spend individual time helping you?
More likely.
More likely, right? I'm the same way. Okay, Mike, you will never again find somebody as committed to your success as I will be. I'm gonna make you successful, or I'm gonna make you uncomfortable until you don't come to these. Do you understand? Okay, so you need my help here. I'm gonna help you get what you want in your life, but it's not gonna happen by you doing the exact same thing, right? Okay, you understand that? Mike, do you have any standing commitments? Listen to this. Do you have any standing commitments right now that would prohibit you from being at these trainings on a regular basis? Okay, most of the time you're gonna get no. I say, great, let's pull out our calendar and let's put these in and put it on repeat for the next 6 months. And Mike, in 6 months, we can reevaluate on this, okay? And if you're following my directions, you're gonna be doing really, really well. You're gonna have a team, it's gonna be working great. You're gonna be much closer to your goal than you are right now. Okay, and if you're not, and you're not doing those things, then maybe in 6 months we reevaluate and say it doesn't make any sense for you to continue on. Right, does that make sense? But I want you to commit for at least 6 months, because you won't know before then whether or not you're getting the traction you need. Okay, is that fair? Okay, good. So let's get out our phone right now. I want you to put it in. Okay? Can you put it in real quick? And we got it on repeat for 6 months. Mike, listen. If I gotta call you and say, Mike, where are you? I have officially lost interest in helping you. Do you understand? I'm not gonna ask you. I'm not gonna beg you. Because you see all these other people here, Mike, right? Guess what? They're doing what you're not willing to do. If you want to have what other people don't, you've got to do what other people won't. Okay? So you're coming to these, I'm going to bend over backwards to help you. You're not, I'm not. That's fair, right? You understand that? Good? Okay, very good. So you see, I'm like having a straight come to Jesus meeting with him. Right here. Why? Because if you're going to waste my time, let's figure that out now.
Yep.
Right? Let's figure it out now, and I'll introduce you to your new upline. Right? Okay, I don't have time for you. I don't. I don't. They might, because they ain't doing the work, so they'll babysit you and hold your hand and convince you to come to the meeting. I'm not going to. Right? Okay, does everybody get that? How is what I just did with Mike different than what you're doing with your people? Probably a lot different. Right? Yeah, I'm the boss. They're coming from being bossed around their whole life. Nobody wants a boss, they want a coach. That's true. But if they ain't a player, they don't get a coach at first. They get the boss until they are able to handle enough responsibility to get the coach. Right? You got to come to practice before you're on the team. Right? Do you get that? And so this is how I deal with people. And notice I'm not rude to him. Do you see how I'm explaining exactly why I'm asking these things of him? Right? You're not going to make any money if you don't know what you're doing. Your people don't know what they're doing, they're not going to make any money. We're going to spend all day long training these people unless we get them here. If we get them here and you were able to trade 50 hours for 3 hours, you do it, right? Yes, that's what I'm asking you to make the trade. I'm helping him look every which way at this so that he conceptually understands why it is important that he's there at the meeting. Right? Does that make sense? Okay? Does that mean they all come to the meeting? No. You still get some real special folks, right, okay? That after going through all of that, they still don't come. Or they come once or twice, and then they miss it for this thing or that thing. Right, okay?
So what if you recruit somebody and they've got class or work out at those times?
Good. So what if they, so there's a difference between an objection and a condition. So I see somebody that has their primary job during one of these times as a condition, maybe a class as a condition, and so I will work around that, right? If it's a condition, right? So so you've got class on Tuesdays till the end of the semester, right? And that ends when? In like two months? Okay. So listen, I'm gonna make an exception for you on that, okay? With the expectation going forward that as soon as that resolves itself, that we will not schedule other things during that time because you are gonna need this to build a team. I'm gonna get you started, but you won't be able to get as far as we both want you to go without it, right? Yeah. So in the interim, we're gonna work around it. So can I get your commitment that in 2 months when you're done, there's not gonna be anything there. You're gonna work diligently to remove that as being an obstacle, right? Yeah. Okay, good. And then I'm gonna help them solve problems. Can you trade that night for when? Can you trade your Wednesday? You're on Wednesday and Tuesday, right? And you're off Thursday. Can you trade your Thursday for Tuesday? Could you just switch them? Could you check and see? Can you call me tomorrow and let me know if you were able to trade that? In their mind, they're like, I didn't even think about that. That's why they're at that job, right? They're letting somebody else do the thinking for them. So I'm like, hey, let's think about a solution to this problem, right? But those are conditions. An objection is, I want to go to the Tigers game. I was invited to this thing. Those are objections. I'm choosing thing A over what I really should be choosing to get to where I need to be. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. I'm not even going to bother explaining to them what you're doing, your people are going to do. They don't care yet, right? But that's what I know. If you're haphazarding your attendance, it's gonna be like herding cats on your team indefinitely until you fix that. If you're lucky enough to be able to get a team to show up to your meetings, they're all gonna have the same crowd, right? And it's just gonna grow slow. It's gonna go so slowly because everybody's half in, right? Any questions on this? Going once, going
So
twice.
you do the three-legged stool promotions, then you come back to.
Well, I show them the three-legged stool and then I go leg by leg.
Okay.
No.
Question, so when you have someone that lives 2 to 3 hours away and you're trying to provide training.
How bad they wanna win? I got people come from 2 to 3
Yeah.
hours away. How many of you drive more than an hour to get here? Look at that. Yeah. So I don't feel bad asking them. And that's why I'm here, is because I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad telling you, hey, figure it out. Get it done. Leave early if you need to. What, it costs you $50 in gas? Could you imagine like telling your grandkids, man, like I didn't win because it cost me $50 in gas, right? Every week it was just like, how many things, right?
I just boast about you and how lucky we are to come up here.
Well, so
Yeah.
she, but that's, I know. That touch canoe is hard. It's really special, Bridget. You and Canoe should connect after. Tell them some more touching stories. But that's called edification of leadership. You need to meet this person, making $1 million a year, teaching everybody how it's the greatest thing anywhere within 1,000 miles a year. If you're serious about winning, you'll be here. If you're not, I won't see you. Right? And guess what? Most of them aren't. So what? Find somebody else that wants to win. Would you drive 3 hours to make $1 million a year residually? Would you do
Yes.
that for 6 months until you could figure out how to run your own deal? Sure. Who wouldn't do that? Well, guess what? The commitment and success comes up front, not afterwards. You don't get the million and then you get committed. You get committed and then you get it. Right?
Brock, if they're not receptive to you during this process, how long do you continue?
Next.
How,
Yeah,
Yep.
next.
so you'll
I
shut down
got a guy I recruited 2 weeks ago. I tried to get him to come to meetings, right? He came to one, left early, done. I took him off my text list. He might resurface, say, hey, when I get my license, what's going on with that? But that's in his court. I can show you a text message I sent to somebody else today. Hey, I'm just gonna leave the ball in your court. You let me know when and if you're ready to continue moving forward with this. I'm sorry I don't have any more time to reach out to you. I can't be here again. Well, that's not what we talked about, right? So if you can't be here, your time's more important than my time, which it's not, but you can choose that. Here you go. I've lost interest. If you pick up the ball and throw it back at me, maybe I'll consider working with you. I don't beg people. I find new people, right? That's always been my mantra. You're not running, I'll crock pot you. Right? It's a Bill Renner talking. Crock pot. Right? What's the crock pot? The meeting. If you won't get in the crock pot, I can't help you cook nothing. Right? Okay? If you don't at least get in the crock pot, okay, you gotta figure that out. Okay? So again, it's really hard. What was his name? Frederick Douglass said it's much easier to grow strong children than to repair broken men. Okay? And so that's kind of in my mindset in this business. It's much easier to teach you and set standards of behavior for you in the beginning than to try to correct bad habits and behavior down the road sometime. Because you already have them. It's already bad, it's already broken. Now I gotta undo something versus starting with a new, clean slate. Questions on this? Going once, going twice. Okay. So I go back to the licensing stool. I talked about their life license. So, Mike, I've got you. You're registered for class Wednesday, Thursday, right? Okay, listen. This is state mandated class. Okay, if you're 5 minutes late, you don't get credit for the whole day. Okay, so I need you to be up early. Bring a pillow, bring a banana. I don't care what you bring, but just get there early. Okay, and make sure you stay for the whole time. All right, 2 days. Like I told you, it sucks. You're not going to be able to do much else, but then you're done and you're never going to have to do it again, right? And you're that much closer to Dream ABC you told me about at the beginning, right? Which is why we're doing this, right? You can't win here long range without having that license, so we need to get it done quickly, okay? So Mike, listen, when you're in class, remember I told you there's a right way and a wrong way? the wrong way to take the test is pass the class and then think like, oh, I need some study time, I'll get to it, I'll schedule it later. Mike, you went to school, right? Okay, how many classes in any form of school did you take where they let you set the date of your own final exam? 0, right? They said, this is when the exam is, and you prepared, and guess what? You weren't dropped off at the 4th grade class day, you passed, right? You figured it out. Okay, same thing's gonna happen here, right? But if you don't book that during the class for 3 to 5 days out, you'll never take this exam. Okay, so you wanna pass this exam and be able to make money for your family, right? I need you to trust me on this. Will you trust me on this and let me coach you? Okay, when you're in the class, I need you to set the exam, and I need you to text me from class the date and time you have it set for, okay? Right, and then we're gonna cram for it, and you're gonna be fine, okay? But listen, I watch so many people, I just need a day or 2 extra to study, and it never gets set.
It's good.
Do you understand? Do you understand why that is? All right, you're gonna do that for me, right? Okay, good. So I'm gonna make sure that I've set the expectation. You guys, right, we look at licensing numbers and part of the funnel. Here's the funnel. Recruit somebody, get them scheduled for class, they go to class, they complete the class, they actually schedule the exam, they pass it. That's the funnel, okay? So we know the numbers. Right now, 22% of the IBAs you take never even get scheduled for a class. You recruit them and never even bother to sign them up for a licensing class, right? Okay, like they're gonna sell PLPP for a living here or something, right? Okay, that doesn't require a license. If they get signed up for class, half of them do not show up to the first day. Okay, so let's take the 22% out that didn't get scheduled. Let's call that the 100%. Half of the ones you schedule for class don't go. How do you stop some of that? You're doing the meeting, the one-on-one, you schedule class for 10 days from now, and you're talking to them about how awesome it's gonna be when they're licensed, what you're billing for them, class is this day, you still got that, right? Oh, something came up, no. You need to come up with that, okay? We schedule this as state licensing class for your future, okay, all right? Remember why you're doing this? Remember? Okay, we need to clear that. See, I'm just firm with people, right? I'm firm and pleasant with them at the same time, all right? So I'm gonna keep doing that. The night before, I'm gonna give them a call. Tanya, tomorrow's class, man, I'm excited, you're gonna be awesome. And dude, you're already promoted, you're gonna be way ahead of everybody in that class. Make sure you let everybody know you got that first promotion. And tell them what team you're from too. You're being great, everybody's gonna know what team you're on. Right, okay? So tomorrow you're good, listen, I need you to text me tomorrow morning, even though it'll be early. I need you to text me and let me know you got there, okay, you found it, okay? Can you do that? Awesome. Right? And some of them aren't gonna do it, but they'll still get to class. And some of them will text you bull crap, some of them will disappear in that 24-hour window, right? But at least more of them will go, right? And guess what? In class, send them a text. How's class going? Man, I'm excited for you, right? Get them through and then make sure you're paying attention. It's the last day of class. Mike hasn't texted me his exam time. Mike, did you set your exam? Oh no, man. Remember you told me you were gonna do that? Right? I want you to knock that out. You're gonna be the first one in your class to pass, man. I know it. Right? And I'm just gonna monitor that process with him to get him through. How is this different than what you tell your people about licensing? It's a little different, a lot different, completely different, right?
100% different.
Yeah. Oh, you could just go online. Right? Just go online. Right? Your licensing rate will be 1%. You'll be worse than Big Gina here, right? I'm just busting your chops, right? That's good. That's good. I know, because you get half of my people licensed. Right? So these are the basic building blocks of getting somebody committed to the process. What are the 4 things you're trying to get them committed to doing? Number 1 is what? Going field training and understanding why recruiting benefits them, right? That's number 1. Number two is what?
Getting
Coming to
committed to
meetings.
meetings.
And why meetings are important, why they need to not miss them, and setting a very firm expectation and precedent for them. Number three is what?
Get licensed.
Getting a license and making sure they go to class, follow through on class, and schedule the appointment to take the exam. Right? And step four is what?
Setting
Make the
up
calls.
appointments.
Make the calls. Right? Danny, listen, we're gonna make some calls for you right now. You want that 3x3, right? I'm gonna help you. Who's like three easy ones? Man, these people, they care about you, they like you got a mom and dad right in the area, right? Like they raised you, they probably let us sit with them. Awesome, let's call them right now. Right now? Yeah, right now. Let's give them a call right now. I bet we could get this promotion done like in the next 3 or 4 days. That'd be awesome, right? Okay, great. You don't let them pick the pace. Their pace is snail, or snail to never. That's the range you have with your people, right? Snail pace to never in a million years. So I'm gonna move you from snail pace to my pace, which is let's go, let me find you somebody, fast. Let me find you somebody, let me show you it works, right? Because guess what else locks your guy in? He's sitting at the kitchen table watching his parents getting ripped off with whole life. And he sees what you do is good. And he sees the difference, and you leave that appointment and the dollar signs are dancing through his brain, thinking, wow, that was incredible what we just did for them. There's gotta be a ton of people. And now he's confident and emboldened to make some more of those phone calls because he just saw the goodness of what we did firsthand. Right? Do you see that? This is why it's important you make the call. If you don't make the call, he's gonna take you to the brokest guy he knows. Because that's in his mind, he thinks, I need people who need financial help.
Yep.
Right? He's gonna take you to one-likers that are broke, and you're gonna go on 3 appointments, and they're all gonna tell you the same thing. Yeah, man, I'm gonna work on my muscle car, I don't really have the money for it right now. And he's gonna think the exact opposite, like, this doesn't work, right? Rakia.
I'm thinking I have a spare timer who doesn't have a ton of time. Do I go through all of this with her, or kind of just go through her sending me people until she's ready to do more?
Okay, so the question is really like, what do I do with a quote silent partner? Okay, I don't want silent partners. I'll recruit you as a silent partner to get you to a meeting and hope you make a decision to do more, right? So like, here's how I think about your person. I don't know your person, you've not talked to me about this person before, right? But here's what I think, are they making $500,000 a year in residual override income? Then they better make some time for this. That's how I think. Right?
Right.
And so that's what I'm gonna communicate to them as nicely as possible, right? Is like, hey, look, I'm glad, I make a bunch of money, or what are you making, $150? That's cute. Right? Like, that's like 40 days, right? And then what do you do with the rest of your year, right? Okay, right? So that's my mindset. I'm not easily sold on how busy you are, right? So that's, rather than try to cater to people, I'm gonna try to lead people. You see the difference? Many of you are caterers, I'm leading, right? And if you don't wanna follow, that's okay, but you're probably not gonna follow anyways. I was just gonna waste a lot of time and effort with you, wishing you to be the right person, okay? In the book Skill with People, Les Giblin says this: we need to develop the skill of seeing people for who they are, not for what you wish them to be, right? Oh man, this guy could be so good, but he doesn't come to meetings, he doesn't have a car, he's always got an excuse. Maybe, right, okay? But I don't think you're the one with the calling on your life from God to help him. I think there's somebody else here that is supposed to be training that guy, and I think you need to go find some guy who actually might be who you're looking for, right? And these are my litmus tests. If you're not excited about recruiting, if you're not excited about coming to the meeting, right? If you're not excited about getting licensed, you're not my guy. And I want you to stay in, I'm gonna make you feel welcome, I'm gonna encourage you, right? I'm gonna find you a new upline, and I'm gonna help you engage in the system as much as I can, but in my mind, you're gone. I need another.
So what's that talk like to the new person who you're finding a new upline?
Well, so generally they take care of themselves and they just disappear. right? I mean, you don't get a whole lot of people because they tend to disappear because they don't come to the meeting, right? So you don't get a whole lot of people that come to the meeting committed that you do that with, because you just don't have a lot of other people that are committed to that process. So that tends to take care of itself. But I'll tell them, like sometimes I've told people like, Josh, listen, remember when I told you in the beginning that if you were not able to be consistent with this, that I just wouldn't have time to train you, right? Okay. I really think it's in your best interest that we work together with Obi, because I don't have the time to give you that you need, because you're missing stuff and you're not learning things at the pace that I need you to learn. And if you're working with me, we're gonna miss stuff. But I think Obi would really do a better job for you than I would be able to do, because he's got some more time to maybe take one-on-one time with you for the things that you're not getting and some of the things you're missing. So you want to win, right? I think that's your best opportunity to win. So I just kind of reframe it for them, because it really is. If you're with me and I don't respect you, I don't know how to help you. You know what I mean? Like I respect you as a human being, like you're God's creation. I'm not disrespectful to you in that way, but in the business, I have no business respect for you, right? And so it becomes an antagonistic relationship pretty quickly. Do you have a question?
No.
Maybe you were just raising your hand? Giving praise.
I said boom.
Yeah, exactly.
How long between the meetings and the one-on-ones? And the
As soon as
one-on-ones?
possible.
No, I
So
meant, what I was gonna say was that you let them start making calls on their own.
Until they're good.
Okay.
I want them to be good. Oh, how come we have to do this, buddy? Come on. He's holding out, he's jingling these things in front of me the whole meeting. I'm like, man.
How do you, if they're setting their own appointments and then you start realizing it's not good appointments, like the APs, 300 AP or 600 AP, like how do you get more qualified?
They're running their own appointments or setting their own?
They're setting them.
Okay, right, so he's saying, what's happening when I'm releasing the reins to my guys? So first of all, congratulations, because you've gotten somebody past most of the hurdles. So be thankful, right? I mean, you're like, my team, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, look at all these people, they ain't got no team. So you should be telling, man, you guys are awesome, you're doing what people are. When I see somebody make their first license sale on GroupMe, I always ding their little thing. I tell them, man, that's awesome, you do it. So few people do. I want to celebrate victories. You're setting appointments on your own, that's awesome, right? And we're closing things, that's incredible. And then tomorrow, I'm gonna say, Chris, listen, why don't we try setting appointments in this sort of market, right? Because we're doing the same amount of work, but we're making a third of the money in the market, right? And I'm gonna explain to them why, but I'm gonna detach. What you do with somebody who just had a victory and then you squash them, no, that's not good. And if you have somebody that failed and then you should have done this, that's even worse, right? So I'm not always good at this. Some of you who know me for a long time know that I have this little bit of a sarcastic bone in my body, just a little bit, right? And if you're tough, boom, I'll get you, right? Out of love, I really do love that, right? Like I wouldn't do that to somebody who was soft because I'd be worried about it hurting them, right? But I've had to learn that. Like, Danny, did you close? No. Well, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you take a devastated person and tell them all the things they did wrong? You're gonna kill your guy, right? Danny, listen, man, you'll get him next time. You'll get him next time. Dude, you're great. You just learn those skills a little bit, man, you're gonna be awesome, right? And then tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, Danny, so tell me, what happened on that one? Hey, did you think about maybe saying this? Or I'm gonna remove the coaching from the emotional the emotional moment, and I'm gonna give it to him when he's ready to receive it, right? So that's what I do with your guy, right? Is I'd sit him back down and I'd explain to him why we need to do that, right? And so the other question I thought you were gonna ask me that I think is good, is that music there? Is what happens when you get guys out on their own and then they're not getting the job done? Because we see that sometimes. They go out too quickly. They're setting their own stuff and they're not getting on the appointments, or they're getting on a slew of them and nothing's closing. What do? You bring them back in. Is Leonard, listen, I appreciate you want to be out on your own, but you wanted to win, right? And you're having some issue getting it done. Wouldn't it make sense for you to get half of something versus 100% of nothing? Right? Is it more important to you that we actually build your business, or that you have the pride that you're doing it on your own and it fails? which one, right? And I'll coach them. So I know you had a question. We're gonna let everybody up, but save it for next time. Hopefully this was helpful to you all.
Thank you.
Wow.
Died.
So,